What has worked in other black holes of corruption to shorten the karmic cycles? What has worked in other black holes of corruption to provide guidance to the masses to stop the destruction in a fair and just way? Aim it through the shell. And it can please everybody who sees that these devices have been registering for 9,000 years.
That's
report
true.
up. The devices have been registering for 9,000 years. It was an oversight, an error, that they weren't properly calibrated, that they were adjusted to not register the screams for help.
Yeah.
Even then, somebody's saying, well, who would be screaming for help? Well,
I hear
the
you.
people who were being bullied, the sentiences who were being bullied. And if you just look at, quote, survival of the fittest, unquote, plan, that's just a plan for bullying. And it's like a nasty, mean plan. And that was something that Pan was saying, we can do better, and nobody's listening to me, and we're good and stuck, and this is an embarrassment, and I don't like that we're stuck, and I wish I could figure out what to do, but I can't, and I've tried everything, and nobody's listening, and we're still stuck, and this is still an embarrassment. And so, all right, let's call for help. And against his better judgment, he signed this plan with the spirit world. And the spirit world came in sometime between 40,000 years ago and 9,000 years ago and implemented their system, and they dropped in these sensors. There we go.
Yep.
And the sensors were already registering screams, and there wasn't an adjustment.
That's true.
Other than to silence the messenger. Well, we don't think silencing the messenger works. The microphone just switched. It's like, this is something we've studied. We have some data points on this. We don't think silencing the messenger works. That never works. All it does is shut it up for the short term, and it just lets the problems build and build and build. And we know examples of humans even in Ground Zero Planet Earth who just don't like they don't like negative information, quote unquote, and they just surround themselves with yes people, and as one might expect, the situations rapidly get worse, rapidly deteriorate. And that's just how it works. And it's no different upstairs when we silence the messenger. How would it be different? Is it different?
I don't feel any difference at all.
It doesn't feel different. Right. Okay, well, now what does the manual say to do when the meters register screams for help?
That's a good question.
When all of them register, because they're all doing it, all the meters.
I can feel it.
So now what does the manual say? It's a 100% scream, urgent. We know what somebody said many, many, many times, and probably multiple somebodies, is the hand of God is going to need to reach in, grab the bottom part of it, whatever that is, and pull this black hole of corruption inside out, kind of like turning a sock inside out.
Exactly.
That's what has to happen, and that it will happen eventually, and when the right voices upstairs speak, that will occur. So I feel no will to implement that strategy.
No will, no interest.
Okay.
None.
Well, who will go for help to find somebody who will? Like, look, isn't that what do the meters say to do? What do the books say to do when the meters read what they're reading? And they have for 9,000 years, at least 9,000 years. Oh, maybe that's why they started agriculture. Maybe they thought, well, all right, let's just see if we can something.
I feel that feeling.
What has worked in other black holes of corruption to stop the destruction in a fair and just way? What has worked in other black holes of corruption to break the cycles of corruption? They're talking about this other dreamer where the dreamer is steering this spacecraft, trying to land a spacecraft in heavy rain. And the inquiry is, what is that rain? And it has to do with corruption, and it's like melted dreams, maybe melted hopes. A good word. And then it just comes down, the melted hopes and dreams.
Like viscous rain.
They're really thick, oily rain. It feels oily. Lies, maybe.
Lies.
There was another dream that had something to do with lies.
Yeah, that's
right. There was these, here it is. We have some dreamers who have been sent to clean out an apartment.
That's right.
The apartment of the best hope gone terribly awry. And they get there and they find this apartment just filled with junk food, like sugary, like Twinkies and things that aren't food and nobody should eat them. And the dreamers are trying to figure out what to do with it. And
that's
we really have tried to figure out what is the best use of that. And we think maybe to compost it. Nobody should eat it as it is. It spikes your blood sugar. It gives you diabetes.
Exactly.
Among other things. Heart disease also. Like, don't eat that stuff.
Exactly.
But maybe if you composted it, it would be good for something. We don't even think you should give it to ants.
No, I don't think it's good for them either.
It's not good for them. It needs to decompose. And then we're attempting to discern, well, what does that junk food represent? And the best thing we've been able to come up with is the enabling lies.
That's right.
The lies of convenience and enabling, including the lie of what is loving, what is love, what is loving. And enabling is not love, and control is not love, and there's many other things that are also not love. And when all those lies are promulgated, it messes up people, because then they don't know how to recognize what is loving. And then they don't know how to be loving.
That's true.
And when they're trying to be loving, they're being something else instead. That's unfortunate. And the angels have talked about this for decades.
A long time, yeah.
And literally decades. For him is the message. Why do you ask? And what is the appropriate thing to do right now, given that these meters have been registering screams for help for over 9,000 years? 9,000 years of screams.
Wow, that's a long time.
That's a long time. Well, if the Sphinx was built 9,000 years ago, slavery existed 9,000 years ago, because the Sphinx was built with slavery.
That's true.
Do you guys know there's 26 million children sold into sex slavery, and that 26 million children sold into sex slavery? And so we really would like for people to let go of this phrase. This one particular phrase that we find really offensive is, "It's all good." And we think an appropriate inquiry, if somebody says, "It's all good," is to say, do you know that there's 26 million children sold into sex slavery right now as we speak, this moment? And then to ask, and do you think that's good? Because I don't think that's good. I think that's bad. I think that's really, really, really bad. And therefore, surely we can all agree, given that reality, that it is not all good. So we can let go of that expression. In addition, we have under 4 years to get carbon neutral for the wealthy countries such as this one. The microphone switch. This is Mother Mary.
Yeah, that's who's
That's
talking.
who this is. Wealthy countries such as this one to become carbon neutral. And nobody is taking the lead on it. So it's up to each of us as individuals to become carbon neutral in our own footprint, including our imported carbon. That's right. It's extremely difficult. And we have under 4 years to do it, so get cracking. And nobody's responding to that, obviously.
No.
And we ourselves have installed 17.2 kilowatt hours of solar panels, which is a lot. And so we hope that we are covering all of our carbon footprint with that. It isn't all good. It's mostly bad, actually.
It's mostly bad.
It's mostly bad. And then there's ridiculous YouTube comments that say, "Oh, you guys are negative." It's like, no, the situation is troubling, and we're reporting the situation. That's not negative. That's saying what's going on. There isn't another way to effectively invoke a response that's appropriate for the needs of the situation other than to describe the situation as accurately as we're able to describe it. For whom is the message? What's actually going on? And please, what is the appropriate response for 9,000 years of screams for help? May we please have that appropriate response, because slavery obviously has existed for at least 9,000 years. And if you guys don't want to, now this is Mother Mary again, if you guys don't want to talk about the children who are working in sex slavery, the 26 million children who are working in sex slavery, we can talk about other forms of human trafficking. It's just been given another word, a nice little hip and trendy label, human trafficking. It's just another word for slavery. Slavery is still going on, and it's been going on for at least 9,000 years, as proven by the Sphinx.
That's true.
The screams for help are there, and that's just the suffering in the human species. That's just Homo sapiens suffering, not to mention all the others. What is the appropriate response with 9,000 years of screams for help?